All right, John, Alistair Craig of Arkansas with the collegiate record in the men's 3,000. Lowy LeLang with the meet record. And then Colby Gilbert of Washington has the 2017 collegiate best. And this men's 3,000 featuring, of course, King Ches. We thought he might be going for the triple here. He won the 5,000 last night, but was upset in the mile by a young freshman from New Mexico. So now he is going to tie the NCAA record for individual titles. He has 14. He's hoping to garner number 15 right here.
And we should also mention that he does have, in addition to those individuals that Dwight just mentioned, titles, he's got 2 distance medley relay titles as well.
A couple outside of him from Syracuse and from Canada, Justyn Knight.
There is Knight, a sensational sub-4-minute miler in high school, ran 3:56 plus a year ago for the mile, and has still had a very fine year. He comes in as the 4th seed here, 4th fastest of the 16 competitors. Knight just as a really fine, talented group, leading a strong cross-country group. Head coach Chris Fox has assembled up at Syracuse.
Also in this race, Mark Scott from Tulsa and from Great Britain, the senior. He'll be lining up in position number 9. We see Matthew Maton there from Oregon, the sophomore, who did a great job sort of rabbiting Ches earlier in the meet. Sub-4-minute miler in high school.
Dwight, everyone here has run 7:54 or better. Has run 7:54 or better for 3,000 meters to qualify to get here.
16 athletes, 15 laps. 2 from Oregon in this race. Edward Cheserek going for his 15th individual title. If he does so, he will tie UTEP and Tanzania's Suleiman Niambui, who was an Olympic medalist back in the 80s.
Back in, as a matter of fact, 1980 in Moscow at the 10,000 meters. You know, Dwight, also, it's kind of an interesting story. Back, as you know, back in the 80s and even before, the US AAU would invite elite athletes over to compete in the major indoor meets we had around the country that you competed in, and I did too. And long story short is that Filbert Bayi from Tanzania was invited, and he was coming at that time for over a month. And the federation said, would you, Suleiman Niambui, like to go? Just keep him company. You can run well, and you'll run the distances, and he'll run the mile. So he came over, accompanied him, eventually was offered a scholarship to the United States, and look how everything has changed. Suleiman Niambui, to show you how far back that was, this past, I don't know, 2 months ago, turned 65. Wow, and he had such a career. 66.2 for the first 400 meters of this race.
And you can see Edward Cheserek tucked in position number 3. And frankly, he was jumped in that mile. Somebody made a move, the New Mexico freshman, Kerr from New Mexico, and just on a slow pace and got a lead on him, and he just didn't have the wheels to catch him.
Well, you know, Dwight, here's the thing. I guessed about 54, and Dave Milner, our crack statistician, had him in 53.2 officially is what Lynx had, and his last 880 yards for Josh Kerr was 151 and change. How is that? 151.60. Wow. Phenomenal turn for Josh Kerr. Nobody knew that he had those types of wheels. Hats off to Joe Franklin, head coach at New Mexico. He's got himself a real gem there, and he's just a freshman.
So aside from this race, Cheserek has 2 chances at the outdoor national championships, the NCAA championships in Oregon in June, to up his total. He's the defending champion of both the 5 and 10,000 meters. So what he has done is not even short of phenomenal, incredible. But from time to time, he has been surprised at the NCAA championships in cross country. He ended up 3rd. That was a title everyone expected him to win, to become the only 4-time winner of that title. His teammate Eric Jenkins beat him in the 5,000 here a few years ago, or the 3,000, I should say. So there's been a couple of titles that we kind of expected him to win, but what he has done since his freshman year is nothing short of phenomenal, especially at this meet.
800 meters passed in just under 2 minutes and 15 seconds by Colby Gilbert out there.
Matthew Maton making a big move from well back to get into the lead.
Gilbert, Dwight, has the fastest of the 3,000 meters of the athletes in this competition. 7 minutes and 45 seconds. So just amazing running. These guys, if they ran the full 2 miles, and I mention miles because if people who just care for the sport are watching, not geeks, so to speak, like us, they understand the mile, but that's a pace of almost 2 miles in 4 minutes and 15 seconds. So at their full best rested, that's what they have done to qualify to get here, some of them.
So it's the
Pace
sophomore,
picked up.
Oregon sophomore Matthew Maton in the front, helping with the duties. Colby Gilbert right there, who is leading from Washington. So it's an all Pac-12 affair up in front, including a couple of Colorado runners who are now making themselves known. John Dressel and Joe Klecker, both from Boulder, in this 3,000 meter final.
3:21 plus for 1,200 meters. The mile in 4 minutes 24 seconds.
And Cheserek looking very, very comfortable. Of course, he doesn't necessarily need the kind of leg speed that he really required in the mile. A little surprised to see him take the lead this early, and Gilbert goes right with him as Maton starts to go backwards. He obviously got done what he was up there to get done, and he is finished.
And look who's in third place, Dwight. Good place for him to be. I don't know what he can do here, but Justyn Knight, who has very good speed, has moved up to get in a position, and 3 guys are separating themselves slightly here. 5 laps to go.
So Cheserek wants to really control things here. He's a little bit snake bit from what happened in the mile. I'm not certain he could have done anything to stop that.
To show you the pace, Dwight, to your point, 61.7 for the last 400 meters. So he's really picked things up to try and spread this field out.
Well, he hasn't broken anybody's back yet.
Right.
As we come up with 4 laps to go, 800 meters remaining.
That lap, also another quick one. The pace has become relentless here. 30.1 seconds for that 200 meters. So he's really clicking off stuff well under 4 minutes and 8 seconds for the last 3, now 4 laps.
Now he's making them suffer. Colby Gilbert of Washington is doubling back from a disappointing performance in the 5,000 where he finished 15th. And Justyn Knight has decided he's going to try and keep pace with Edward Cheserek. Ches really checking to see where they are. He wants to come away with at least 2 titles from here in College Station.
I think he's got another gear left, but you're right. You know, he's concerned with him. He keeps clicking off 200 meters under 31 seconds.
Coming up, 2 laps remaining, and Oregon's Edward Cheserek, after being stunned in the mile and winning the 5,000, trying to go for a double here in College Station. He is leading, as he has for about the last 6 laps, over sophomore Justyn Knight of Syracuse and Canada. Colby Gilbert of Washington, the junior, also hanging in there. And then from Tulsa now, he rears his head. Mark Scott into the mix as Cheserek has got his head on a swivel, trying to figure out what's going on. Doesn't want to get jumped like he was in the mile. 1 lap remaining. Edward Cheserek trying to win the 3,000 after winning the 5,000 last night. He is looking back a lot, which is usually a sign that he's not really very confident, but now it's over. Cheserek, in the kind of sprint that he needed in the mile, he shows it here in the 3,000. Justyn Knight just simply can't catch him, and neither can Mark Scott. It's going to be his 15th individual NCAA title for King Ches. "17 titles overall when you count his 2 participations in the winning distance medley relay. an all-time record for total NCAA titles for the senior from Oregon.
Here he just powers down the home stretch. Knight did well to hold on to him, and moving up was Mark Scott, but he had no hope to catch Ches, who just kept flying along and just clicking off 30-second plus last 200 meters over about the last 1,200 meters of this race. Right in that range. It's just an amazing performance here. These guys did very well to get as close to him as they did.
Cheserek with the time inconsequential. He wins the title with 7:55.91. Justyn Knight, a nice job as a sophomore. In second, Mark Scott of Tulsa. Third, Joe Klecker for the Buffs comes up. They go fourth and eighth for Boulder.